Alright, Danny here again with Pastlife Warrior, and I'm here to share the thoughts of someone, being myself, who acknowledges that in the past, they were a warrior in their past life. Let's not worry too much about what the past life actually means. I will touch on that eventually, but the main thing is I'm here to share my thoughts and that inner spirit that a lot of us call the warrior spirit. Because, like I said last time, those who know me, they know I'm a warrior. Or at least I have the mindset of a warrior. And I do atone that all to my past life. Alright, so today I'm going to take things a little bit differently. You probably can't see, but I am dressed a bit differently. My attitude and my voice is going to be a bit different as well. I'm pretty much just going to be more, not casual, but more myself. Because this in itself is good exercise for a warrior. Because the main point I want to bring is that when you find that inner strength, it is helpful to see how you can use that inner strength in a way that suits your own style or your own personality or your own soul. Because anyone can pull out, that inner warrior spirit from anywhere. And wherever you learnt to pick up that warrior spirit, they may have a specific guideline or a specific mantra or style or some sort of flavor to it that will help you evoke and bring out that warrior spirit. But sometimes that other style that someone else has used to bring out that warrior spirit isn't always the most fitting for you, nor would it be fitting for your situation. So the important part of becoming a true warrior and true to yourself, because that is part of being a warrior, is finding the style or the flavor, the personality that reaches, that matches your warrior style. Yeah. And of course, as a warrior, I'm relying on my straight up skills to explain and orate whatever it is I want to say today. So I think today I'll explain the road to getting on the road to being a warrior. Or let's just say the steps it can take to be a warrior. Or I'm going to explain a bit of those different phases, because I did explain there is the road to strength. Because when you're finally on that road to strength, it will eventually lead you to the road to being a warrior. And then when you're on the road to being a warrior, did I explain what comes after that? Because when you're on the road to being a warrior, the next step is the road to being a leader. Yes, that is a role that a lot of us do desire. Depending on who you are, it may not suit you. And that is a harsh truth that I want to say. Not everyone is suited to be a leader, but that is only dependent on the most common situations in life. And most commonly, most people are going to relate, whether they're a leader or not, to either work or their community or their community groups. And in those very specific circumstances, not everyone is suited. But in any other form or shape or anything, they could be fitting. They could be the only one who should lead such a faction or group or idea or philosophy. But enough of that. Alright, so the road to strength. One of the things that I do in my road to strength is I need to make sure that whatever it is, and if I'm getting stronger, And I'm not just talking physically, I'm talking about mentally and spiritually stronger as well. Oh, I said it, the word spiritual. Well, here's some very harsh truth for a lot of you out there, especially those who want to tap into the warrior spirit. Being a warrior is extremely spiritual. It's almost completely spiritual. It's a spiritual quest. But here's some grace that could lighten and ease your worries. Spirituality may not be what you think. It is not that trend of dream catchers and what else is there? Burning incense and all those hippie things that apparently is what spirituality is. No, that is not spirituality. I've been a spiritual master ever since my younger days, whether people like it or not, whether people agreed or not. Since I was a child, I've been able to give true and honest spiritual guidance. Because another word to understand what actually spirituality is, it's just understanding one's emotions. That is what spirituality is. Because spirit, or the idea of spirit, that is the idea of how you are and how you feel and your mood. That's what your spirit is. So when we look at Johnny and he's playing football and he's fired up and he's always there, he's on the ball, he's doing everything, he's leading the team, we could all say, oh, Johnny, yeah, he was in good spirits, and even though people were going against him and putting him down, he still kept himself strong because he was in good spirits. He was in a good mood. He was in a good mindset, emotion. That may explain to everyone a better idea of what spirituality truly is. It's not exactly about what deity or ruler or God you want to follow or anything. It's not. It's only about yourself and how you keep yourself entirely, not only physically and mentally, but emotionally as well, spiritually, in good graces. Why have I lost the word for that? But yeah, keeping yourself at a good level, a good standard. So yes, the warrior spirit is all about keeping yourself in good spirits, in optimal spirits, optimal for the situation, for the stance that you take, for what you've devoted yourself to. Because remember, being a warrior is all about devotion. There's of course little more specific things that I'll touch on as well today, but they all stem from warrior. One of the biggest ones, and pretty much it will be the biggest one after devotion, is responsibility. But another one that we're going to go on and explain, because it is part of the strength part, it is will, or willpower, for lack of a better word. But yes, will. That is almost what it means to engage on the road for strength. Because the truth is, it's the road to will. It's the road to willpower, if that makes more sense to you guys. But it's about will, because it's not all, because let's say I say the road to will is more than just physical strength. It's about that, whether they say mind over matter, it's about finding that courage, that strength inside of you to follow your will, to will what you desire, to will for anything that you stand for. Am I saying that right? It's all will, strength. That is the actual strength. Yeah, so it is the road to will, not the road to strength. Because I think strength, we can define it to more specific physical terms. But yeah, of course, we can talk energetically and spiritually as well in terms of strength. But we're talking specifically willpower. That's a specific type of strength that the road to strength is about. So the road to will. Damn, I said will a lot. But of course, that's the topic. So, hold on. When we want to be warriors, why is one of the earliest steps the road to power or the road to strength or the road to will? When you're a warrior, you need to be prepared to take that stand. Because when you're a warrior, that means you're standing for something. That means you've got the willpower to stand for something, the strength to stand up for something. And usually that standing up means you need to face adversity. You need to face the challenges that do not agree with what you stand for. So you need to be prepared. You need to make sure you've got enough will to withstand whatever is trying to tear down and undermine whatever it is you stand for. That is where lots of little training and drills and exercises and practice and experience can develop your suitability, your competence for being a warrior or being the warrior you wish to be. Of course, it's not only preparation when we're talking about the road to strength or the road to willpower. It's not only preparation for when the moment that adversary comes to shake the ground. It's not only for that. It's also to achieve a level of comfort. Because sometimes what you stand for is peace and comfort. And in a way, you can be prepared in a sense that will always maintain a level of comfort. That is also why a lot of people, most people actually engage on the road to strength or the road to development, some sort of development. Because of course, the road to being a warrior, the road to being a leader, they're all higher degrees of spirituality. But first we'll start with, of course, the road to strength. So yeah, the road to strength also involves finding comfort, finding a sense of comfort. Because when you're comfortable, you're in a better state. Like, you're more willing to live. See, you will. You're more willing to enjoy life. It helps you want to continue on. It's more of a reason to continue and enjoy life, because life should be enjoyed. That's a bit of a philosophical argument there, and I don't want to get into that, but life should be enjoyed. And a good way to enjoy life is to eventually find some sort of comfort. Not only comfort in terms of, small, short gratifications or like feeling physical pleasure or anything, but it's also knowing that you are strong enough to handle whatever comes your way. Because when you're not, for example, when you're in a position, for example, when you're doing a job and you're required to do something that you're not so familiar with, or you're not that strong at doing, nor do you have the skills or ability to do it well, it's pretty uncomfortable. It's difficult because you need to learn the skills to become better. But it starts to become comfortable when you become more competent at whatever you're asked to do. And then you eventually you eventually reach a level of mastery where damn, I can do this so efficiently. I don't even have to consciously think about it. I just do it. That's when you're comfortable. And that leaves a lot more room for enjoyment. Because rather than just worrying if you're doing something properly, you can trust your subconscious mind or your unconscious mind. I forgot which one it was. But you can trust your being to get it done efficiently so that you can use your conscious mind to enjoy other things. Like, wow, the team looks good today. I'm happy to be around them. Or, you know what? This isn't as stressful as I thought. I'm not sure if that is what we call being on the road to warrior, to becoming a warrior, but it is part of the road to strength. But when you want to ascend to that next level where it's more than just being comfortable, when you want to be more prepared for something beyond what is already at your comfort level, that's what a lot of us recognize as the willpower of a warrior. That strive for excellence. As long as it's all in good proportion, then it's good. But yeah, usually when anyone engages on the road to strength, it is to achieve a goal, whether it is to be prepared, to sustain comfort, or it's to eventually ascend and grow. Depending on which part you truly want, that's when we get closer to the road to being a warrior. But of course, like I was saying, on these paths to strength, it is all about developing will as well. Maybe not so much in the comfort part, but the will will eventually get you to that level of comfort. Yeah, so ultimately it's about developing your will so that you can reach comfort, so you can use that will to reach a level of comfort. So if anything, strength is truly not the goal. Willpower is the goal. It's just strength is the indicator of how we measure if we're growing and developing our willpower. Because the more strength you get, the more willpower you're going to need to want to get stronger, to eventually get to that power level that you wish to be at. I think I should talk about some examples of ways we can develop our willpower. One of the easiest ways, even if people don't say it's easy because of other factors, is physical exercise and physical development. I think it's the easiest because it's the most rewarding and it's the most noticeable. It's a lot harder to notice your development mentally or spiritually. That's a lot harder. Usually others can measure that for you and identify your growth, whether you've grown mentally, spiritually, both. But you yourself, you'll be able to easily identify your physical growth. And I'm not saying physical growth is the low level one. No. Neither form of development is better than the other. Well, of course, when there's a situation, a context, but they're all important. Because more spiritual, man, is this supposed to be a spiritual thing? I think I'm going to make this, okay, wait. Of course, this is a spiritual thing. This is about being a warrior. So, like I said, it's an extremely spiritual thing. So, some spiritual guidance here. When you talk about your physical, your mental, and your spiritual or emotional, in other words, and you're talking about developing them, or if one is lacking or not doing so well, in a sense, you have to regard all the other ones. So when I talk physical, you need to consider your mental and your spiritual as well, because they're all linked together. They're all one thing, because they are all pretty much the ways you can look at yourself or us as a person. We look at ourselves through the physical, or either the mental or the spiritual. But the real way to see us is through all ways. That's why I have a bit of a prejudice against a lot of people's mindsets on how they look at the physical development or mental development or emotional development. They compartmentalize everything into these categories or these little sections. To me, that's not the way we should be analyzing a person. We should be analyzing them as a whole, completely, and in a way that we see them in their strength, in their physical strength, in their emotional strength, and the mental strength, all as one. I don't feel it's balanced to only have one part developed, because you can reach that point where you only focus on one of those elements and you develop it, and then you eventually start losing your development on the others. For example, if I concentrate too much on just developing physically, I'll eventually start losing the development of myself physically or emotionally. That's when certain things, like I mentioned before, the thirst for struggle, that's when they become out of balance, because it's no longer about training your willpower. It's about training one specific thing and leaving out the other things. I believe in, a holistic way of life where everything is developed. Because when you do initially train your physical strength or abilities, it's not only physical. You have to train your mentality, because your mind needs to be prepared for the circumstance that this physical exercise or execution is required for. For example, when you practice your basketball shot, when you shoot the hoops, you get physically better at that, but also you get mentally prepared for a situation where you are the one who's dependent upon to get that ball through the basket. That means you need to start learning how to develop your awareness of being in a team. Because when you go for the shot, that means you're being depended on. You can practice your shot as many times as you want, but you're never really going to be a good shooter in terms of basketball. You're never going to be a good shooter until you also develop that mentality and that emotional concept in yourself, that when you take this shot, it's also about your team relying on you to succeed in that shot. And when there's something even more, you need to understand you're being depended on to make that shot, while your foes are trying to prevent you from taking that shot. It's more than just the physical, like, oh, my hand has the ability to throw the ball into the basket. It becomes the true skill is a mental and a spiritual thing as well. It's about the spiritual thing. For that example is facing the adversary, whether it be your opponents, yourself, or it'll only be your opponents or yourself. And the mentality, there could be a timer, like the shot clock, the game clock, your level of fatigue, your team's level of fatigue, because they're trying to screen this guy from stopping you. They're trying to get in good positions for the rebound. There's a lot that you have to develop. But that's, of course, with the physical ability. That is what's supposed to come with the physical ability. That is what development should be. Because I don't know what the purpose of just practicing your shot all alone and eventually just getting it. I don't know what or how or what situation that helps you in, except for maybe it's your therapy and it just makes you feel good to know that you can shoot the ball in for yourself. Of course, if that is what your goal is, then you go down that road. But any development you take, you need to be sure you understand the goal. And when you understand the goal, you need to consider all factors, what the physical requirements are, what the mental requirements are, and what the spiritual requirements are. And of course, as you develop whatever factor you do in whatever sort of training or engagement that you do, all things can sort of cross over to an extent. There are developments and crossovers. Like physical stamina can be moved across to many different physical activities. Of course, if they're relatively the same. Like, for example, running on a basketball court and running on a football field. There's a slight transfer. But if you're talking about someone who can play tennis and dash from one sort of side of the court to the other versus a marathon runner, they're two very different skills and applications, and they don't exactly transfer over. They might transfer a little bit in terms of your heart's going to be a lot stronger, and you might have developed that mental fortitude to, continue and aim for your success, and your emotional, spiritual attitude where you must be serious when it's playtime. Those things can kind of be transferred over, but they're only to a certain extent. But yeah, there's always transfer. Man, I'm getting lost in what I'm trying to explain. But anyway, one of the biggest parts about being a warrior is developing yourself and developing your willpower. That's the most important thing. I think the willpower is the most important thing, because once you develop that emotional part, that spiritual part, which is the willpower, all the other ones become easier. Did I just contradict myself? I did, didn't I? Because I said that they all must be developed in good proportions and in good balance. And then I just professed that one should develop their spiritual side. Maybe because I'm very spiritually based. But willpower usually dominates most situations, so long as you're developed physically and mentally well as well. But yeah, willpower is the underlying factor that can help someone succeed in most situations. Because physical development and physical strength is more applicable to the specific physical situation that you're required. And same with the mental prowess or ability. It's more specific to the application. But the emotional part, that can usually be carried over the most and the easiest. Yeah. Oh, that's the point I should have made. Yeah. The spiritual development is the one that crosses over the easiest and the most. Because we can't deny when there's someone who is very spiritually strong or for example, emotionally strong or has a strong amount of willpower, no matter what they engage in, whether they have the physical ability or not to accomplish it efficiently or not, we know that they're going to do a good effort. They're going to do well, and they're going to have the grit and the passion to want to succeed. Because that spiritual part does cross over the best. Well, yeah. Yeah, I should have prepared a script for this. But no matter. I'm relying on my spiritual prowess to get me through this. I know I need to succeed in locking down a point. And the point I was going to bring across was responsibility and a bit of devotion. But for now, we'll leave it with the idea of willpower and the road to your development, whether it's physical strength, mental strength, or emotional strength. I put most of my value in the spiritual development and that development of willpower. Because I find, it is the most transferable. I'm not going to say I'm the most physically elite person out there, but because I've developed my warrior spirit so much, I believe, an incredible amount of spiritual power, of willpower, and it usually helps me get through anything I want to do in life, especially when death comes dancing in front of me. That spiritual strength that I have, it allows me to dance with her too. It allows for both of us to enjoy the movement, the motions, and the emotion too. All in good taste though. Because I don't devote myself to such things. I've devoted myself to the complete opposite of what she brings to the table. And because she and I were competitors in the same game, we can't help but have a special relationship with each other, a complete acknowledgement of one another. It is a romance, but in the end, I will always conquer her. And I've developed myself very well to conquer her, spiritually at least. And with that spiritual strength, it allows me to overcome many other situations that I may not have been physically or mentally trained for. For example, podcasting. Or another example, putting myself online. I think I've developed enough of that with social media. A lot of us probably have. But yeah, other situations as well. Because this is a new road for me. As a warrior, this is a new road. I do eventually want to start talking about a lot of past experiences, but I think while we're still in the introductory stage of this podcast, I'm going to slowly break down little factors that everyone should keep in mind of what it means to be a warrior. Because there isn't a lot to take in. I just like to talk a lot. And I just like to explain things so that everyone understands what's important about every little bit. I'm teaching my philosophy right now of what I claim to be the warrior spirit. And I'm pretty sure my past life is what gives me the skills to utilize this inner strength of warrior spirit. Because the first time I danced with her, I already knew the moves. It was strange. But that's another matter. Let's not worry about that. What can I sum up what the take-home message was? Willpower. Develop it. I might as well just give one more little short message. because I did ramble on a bit. But in any way that you try to develop yourself, remember to develop yourself wholesomely. So whether it's a physical thing, a mental thing, when you're trying to learn a new skill, be prepared in all ways. I know it's hard to understand how to be physically prepared to learn a new mental skill, like a new form of mathematics. But physical also means, your energy levels, like your fatigue, your stamina, how tired you are, how well you've been rested, how well you've eaten, how hydrated you are. That's all physical. Emotionally, whether you're stressed out or not, because if you're not in an emotionally good state, you're not going to learn mentally very well. What else is physically important? Correct posture, hygiene, directing yourself and looking at what you need to learn, not the distractions that you can bring along with you. Like our little stone, our lovely little smart stones that I'm using right now. But yeah, consider all things, all forms of development in a wholesome way, and then you'll get closer to that road to being a warrior. Because apart from the first tier, achieving a level of comfort with your ability and skills, and then the next tier, being prepared for a challenge, and then the next tier, being more than prepared for a challenge, being the elite of whatever challenge is supposed to come across you. Once you reach that top tier, that's when you know maybe you're on the road to being a warrior. My concern most of the time is always achieving more than I need to. A lot of people say it's a waste of time, but I can't help but just knowing everything I can, learning every single skill I can, developing myself more than necessary for everything. I don't know what it is. I just want to be prepared for every single situation. I want to be more than prepared for every single situation. I want to be able to lead everyone that I need to lead under every single situation. Because a little clue or a little secret I'm going to drop right now is that in terms of what am I devoted to, I'm devoted to changing the world. And now I'm taking responsibility. Even if this little podcast right now isn't much, this podcast is going to grow when I figure out the best way for it to be handled. I will be honest, and you can already figure out I'm still developing it, and I'm still in the preparation stages, but it doesn't matter. It's going to grow. It's going to become amazing. And it's going to be one of my steps to changing the world. Those who don't know me yet can probably laugh. It's up to you. But those that do know me, when they hear me say those words, when they hear my statement, they know I'm going to do it. They know that whatever I say, it's going to happen. Because they know that I do have that warrior spirit. So you might as well all accept it. This podcast is going to grow, and I am going to teach people how to utilize their inner strength and develop themselves into better characters so that we can change this world into something greater, something more balanced at least, but something more beautiful. I was going to say something hippie and spiritual, like let's look after Mother Earth, because she is our responsibility as well, whether you accept it or not. And if you don't accept it, she's my responsibility. And me changing the world, me changing people, is one of the ways I'm taking responsibility to look after Mother. let's end it here. I'm signing out. Thank you.